Opening the duel at the Cathedral. March 6, 1945, 10:30 in the morning, Cologne, Germany. The city center near the cathedral. American tank commander Sergeant Early Roland sits in his M26 Pershing heavy tank. The tank is named Eagle 7. It's one of 20 Pershings in Europe, the first American heavy tanks to reach combat. Roland and his crew arrived in Germany 3 weeks ago. They've been waiting for this moment. Roland looks through his periscope. The street ahead is narrow. Destroyed buildings on both sides. Rubble everywhere. The cathedral looms behind them. Its twin spires somehow still standing despite months of bombing. The city is mostly captured. But German resistance continues, snipers, Panzerfausts, and somewhere, German armor. Roland's radio crackles. Eagle 7, intelligence reports Panther tank in your sector. Proceed with caution. Engage on sight. Roland acknowledges. His gunner, Corporal Clarence Smoyer, already has his hand on the firing controls. The loader, Private John DeRiggy, checks the 90mm shells. Ready. The driver, Technician 5th grade William McVeigh, shifts gears. The Pershing moves forward, slowly, carefully. This is what the Pershing was designed for, fighting German heavy tanks, Panthers, Tigers. The Sherman couldn't do this effectively. Sherman guns bounced off German armor. Sherman crews died. The Pershing was supposed to change this. 90mm gun, 102mm frontal armor. Finally, an American tank that could fight German heavies on equal terms. But the Pershing arrived late, very late. The war is almost over. Germany is collapsing. Most German armor is destroyed or abandoned. The Pershings rushed to Europe in January. Only 20 made it before Germany's final collapse. Roland's Eagle 7 is one of them. The Pershing turns a corner. Roland sees it immediately. A German Panther, 500 meters ahead. Hull down position. Only the turret visible. The Panther's long 75mm gun aims directly at them. Roland shouts, "Panther, front! 500!" Smoyer sees it, centers the crosshairs, but the Panther fires first. The shell crosses the distance in under a second, hits the Pershing's frontal armor. The impact is massive, violent. The crew is thrown forward, but the armor holds, no penetration. The 102mm armor stops the Panther's shell. This is what the Pershing was built for. Smoyer recovers, aims. The 90mm gun centers on the Panther's turret. Range, 480 meters. Smoyer fires. The Pershing recoils. The shell hits the Panther's turret front, penetrates. The Panther explodes. Catastrophic ammunition detonation. The turret lifts off the hull. Smoke pours from the wreck. The entire engagement lasts 12 seconds, and it's filmed. A cameraman from the Signal Corps is following Roland's platoon. He captures everything. The Panther firing, the Pershing taking the hit, the Pershing returning fire, the Panther exploding. This footage will become famous. The duel at the cathedral. The Pershing proving it can fight German heavy tanks. But Roland doesn't celebrate. He knows the truth. The war is almost over. Germany will surrender in 2 months. The Pershings arrived too late to matter, too late to change the outcome, too late to save the thousands of Sherman crews who died fighting Panthers and Tigers with inadequate guns. This is the Pershings War. A few dramatic victories, but strategically irrelevant. The right tank, the wrong time. The weapon that proves, sometimes, being late is the same as being useless. This is the story of the M26 Pershing, the tank America needed in 1943, but didn't deploy until 1945. The weapon that Army leadership opposed for 2 years. The machine that arrived after the Sherman already won the war. The tank that got a second chance in Korea and failed again for different reasons. Welcome to Iron Witness. Part 1. Origins, the Political Battle. Chapter 1. The Sherman's Inadequacy. Let's go back to 1942. America is at war. Tank production is ramping up. The Sherman is America's primary medium tank, and American military leadership believes the Sherman is adequate, good enough to win the war. But some officers disagree. They see reports from North Africa, British tanks facing German Panzer IVs and Tigers. British tanks are outgunned, out-armored. The Germans have superior firepower. If American tanks face German heavy tanks, the Shermans will suffer the same fate. Lieutenant General Leslie McNair is the commander of Army Ground Forces. He's responsible for training and equipping the Army. McNair has strong opinions about tanks. He believes tanks should not fight tanks. That's the job of tank destroyers. Tanks should support infantry, exploit breakthroughs. Tank destroyers will handle enemy armor. This doctrine shapes American tank development. The Sherman is designed as an infantry support vehicle, not a tank killer. It has adequate armor against infantry weapons, a gun that can destroy bunkers and light vehicles, speed and reliability for exploitation operations. But it's not designed to duel German heavy tanks. Some officers protest. Brigadier General Alvin Gillum, Colonel James Chibber. They argue America needs a heavy tank, a tank with heavier armor, a more powerful gun, a tank that can fight Panthers and Tigers. McNair refuses. He argues heavy tanks are unnecessary, too slow, too expensive. Tank destroyers will handle German armor. The Sherman is good enough. America's advantage is numbers. Build more Shermans. Overwhelm German forces with quantity. Superior tanks aren't needed. The debate continues through 1942 and early 1943, but McNair has the authority. He blocks heavy tank development. The Ordnance Department proposes several designs: the T-20, the T-23, the T-25. All are rejected. McNair insists, no heavy tanks, focus on Sherman production. Then reports from Tunisia arrive. February 1943, the Battle of Kasserine Pass. American forces encounter German Tigers for the first time. The results are devastating. Sherman's 75mm guns cannot penetrate Tiger frontal armor. Tiger 88mm guns destroy Shermans at ranges beyond 2,000 meters. American tank crews are helpless. After-action reports are alarming. American tankers describe Tigers as invincible. Sherman shells bounce off. Multiple hits don't stop Tigers. But one Tiger hit kills a Sherman. The morale impact is severe. American crews fear German heavy tanks. McNair reviews the reports, but his position doesn't change. He argues Kasserine was a tactical failure, poor deployment, inadequate training. The solution isn't better tanks, it's better tactics, better training. The Sherman is still good enough, but pressure is building. Field commanders want better tanks. Tank destroyer doctrine is questioned. Tank destroyers are effective against medium tanks, but against Tigers, they suffer the same problems as Shermans. Thin armor, inadequate guns. Tank destroyers can't reliably kill Tigers either. The Ordnance Department continues pushing for heavy tank development. They propose the T-26. This design has a 90mm gun, 102mm frontal armor. Weight? Approximately 46 tons. It can fight Tigers and Panthers on more equal terms. McNair reviews the T-26 proposal. He remains opposed. His arguments are consistent. Heavy tanks are too slow for exploitation operations, too expensive. Production would divert resources from Sherman manufacturing. America's advantage is quantity, not quality. The T-26 is rejected. Again. This pattern continues through 1943. The Ordnance Department proposes, McNair rejects. Meanwhile, Sherman losses mount. North Africa, Sicily, Italy. Shermans fight German armor. Shermans lose. Crew casualties increase, but the doctrine doesn't change. Shermans are good enough. Tank destroyers will handle heavy armor. No heavy tanks needed. Chapter 2. The Battle of the Bulge changes everything. December 16, 1944. The Ardennes Forest. Germany launches Operation Wacht am Rhein, the Battle of the Bulge. German forces include over 150 King Tigers and hundreds of Panthers. American forces are surprised, outnumbered, outgunned. Sherman tanks face King Tigers and Panthers at close range in the Ardennes forests. The results are predictable. Sherman's 75mm guns cannot penetrate frontally. German guns destroy Shermans easily. American tank losses are heavy, very heavy. Reports reach Washington. The Battle of the Bulge exposes American tank inadequacy dramatically. Shermans are hopelessly outclassed by German heavy armor. The 76mm Sherman, introduced in 1944, is marginally better, but still inadequate against King Tigers. American tankers are dying because American tanks cannot fight German heavy tanks effectively. The political situation changes. McNair was killed in July 1944 by American bombs during Operation Cobra. His replacement, Lieutenant General Ben Lear, is more open to heavy tank development. The Battle of the Bulge provides the justification. America needs a heavy tank. Immediately. December 22, 1944. The War Department approves the T-26 for production. The tank is redesignated M26, named Pershing after General John Pershing, commander of American forces in World War I. Production begins immediately at the Detroit Arsenal and Fisher Tank Arsenal, but production takes time. The first M26 rolls off the assembly line in November 1944, But that's a prototype. Full production doesn't begin until December. By January 1945, only a few dozen Pershings are completed. The war is almost over. American leadership realizes the Pershings won't arrive in time to affect the war significantly. But they order deployment anyway, partially for morale. Show American tankers they're getting better equipment. Partially for testing. Combat data will inform future tank development. And partially for prestige. America wants to prove it can build tanks comparable to German heavy tanks. January 1945. Operation Zebra mission. 20 M26 Pershings are rushed to Europe. They're loaded onto ships, transported across the Atlantic, rushed through France to Germany. The entire process takes approximately 1 month. The Pershings arrive at the front in late January and early February 1945. 20 tanks out of thousands of American tanks in Europe. The Pershings are a token force, strategically insignificant, but symbolically important. America finally has a heavy tank, finally has a weapon that can fight German heavy armor on equal terms. But 3 years too late. Chapter 3. The Pershing Design. Let's examine what American engineers created. The M26 Pershing, America's first heavy tank. Or is it? The classification is debated. The Army initially classifies it as a heavy tank, but post-war, it's reclassified as a medium tank. Why? Because by 1945 standards, 46 tons is medium, not heavy. The King Tiger weighs 70 tons, the IS-2 weighs 46 tons, and the Soviets call it heavy. But American doctrine is different. Classification debates aside, what matters is capability, weight. 41.7 tons in combat configuration. Some sources say 46 tons. The discrepancy depends on ammunition, fuel, and equipment load. Either way, significantly heavier than the Sherman at 33 tons. Armor. Frontal hull, 102 millimeters at 46 degrees. This provides effective thickness of approximately 140 to 150 millimeters. Impenetrable to most German guns at medium range. Turret front, 114 millimeters, thicker than the hull. The Pershing's armor can withstand German 75 millimeter Panther guns at medium range, German 88 millimeter Tiger guns at long range, but not at close range. The King Tiger's 88 millimeter long gun can penetrate Pershing frontal armor at ranges under 1,000 meters. Gun. 90 millimeter M3. This is a significant upgrade from the Sherman's 75 millimeter or 76 millimeter guns. The 90 millimeter can penetrate 120 millimeters of armor at 1,000 meters. 148 millimeters at 500 meters. This gun can penetrate Panther frontal armor at medium range, Tiger frontal armor at close range, King Tiger from the side or rear. The Pershing finally gives American tankers a gun that can fight German heavy tanks. Engine. Ford GAF V8 gasoline engine, 500 horsepower. This is the critical problem. The Pershing weighs 46 tons. The engine produces 500 horsepower. Power-to-weight ratio. Approximately 11 horsepower per ton. This is low, very low. The Sherman has 15 horsepower per ton. The Panther has 16 horsepower per ton. The Pershing is underpowered. Mobility is compromised. Maximum speed: 40 kilometers per hour on roads, 8 kilometers per hour cross-country. The Pershing is slow, especially on rough terrain. Transmission: torque-matic transmission. 3 forward gears, 1 reverse. This transmission is borrowed from the Sherman. It's designed for a 33-ton tank. The Pershing weighs 46 tons. The transmission is overloaded. Reliability suffers. The Pershing frequently experiences transmission problems. Overheating, gear failures. This will become a major issue in Korea. Suspension: torsion bar suspension. Horizontal volute spring suspension on early models. Later models use torsion bars. Better ride quality. Better weight distribution. The Pershing's suspension is adequate, not exceptional, but better than the Sherman's. Ammunition capacity: 70 rounds of 90 mm. This is adequate for sustained combat, more than the Tiger's 92 rounds of 88 mm, less than the Sherman's 90 rounds of 75 mm. Ammunition storage is improved. Wet storage reduces fire risk. The Pershing is less likely to burn catastrophically than early Shermans. Crew: 5 men. Commander, gunner, loader, driver, assistant driver/bow machine gunner. Standard configuration for American tanks. The Pershing is a capable tank. Not exceptional, but capable. It addresses the Sherman's primary weaknesses: better armor, better gun. But it introduces new problems: underpowered engine, overloaded transmission, and, most critically, it arrives too late. By February 1945, the war is almost over. The Pershing will see limited combat in Europe. Its real test will come 5 years later in Korea, under very different conditions. Part 2. World War II. Too little, too late. Chapter 4. Arrival in Europe. February 1945. 20 M26 Pershings arrive in Belgium. They're assigned to the 3rd Armored Division and the 9th Armored Division. The crews are excited. Finally, a tank that can fight German heavy armor. Finally, a weapon that gives them a fighting chance. But the Pershings arrive with problems. First, training. The crews have minimal time to familiarize themselves with the new tanks. A few days at most. The Pershing is different from the Sherman. Heavier, different controls, different gun. The crews need time to adapt. They don't get it. The front is moving. German resistance is collapsing. The Pershings must deploy immediately. Second, maintenance. The Pershings are new. Spare parts are scarce. Maintenance manuals are incomplete. The crews and mechanics don't fully understand the tank's systems. When problems occur, and they will, fixing them is difficult. Third, logistics. The Pershings consume fuel voraciously. The underpowered engine runs at high RPM constantly. Fuel consumption is higher than Sherman's. Fuel trucks must prioritize Pershings. But the logistics system is optimized for Sherman's. Integrating Pershings into the supply chain is complicated. Despite these problems, the Pershings deploy. February 25, 1945. The 3rd Armored Division crosses the Roar River. Several Pershings participate. This is their first combat. The crews are nervous, excited. The Pershings advance. German resistance is scattered. Panzerfausts, anti-tank guns, but no German heavy tanks. Not yet. Then, disaster. One Pershing, nicknamed Fireball, advances too far ahead of supporting infantry. German forces ambush it. A Tiger tank fires from a concealed position. Range 300 meters. The shell hits Fireball on the frontal armor. Penetrates. The Pershing explodes. Total loss. 3 crew members killed, 2 wounded. This is the Pershing's first combat loss, and it's symbolic. The tank designed to fight tigers is destroyed by a tiger on its first day in combat. The crew advanced without proper support. The ambush was preventable, but the loss is demoralizing. The Pershing isn't invincible. It can be destroyed, just like the Sherman. The other Pershings continue advancing. Over the next week, they engage German forces regularly. Anti-tank guns, Panzerfausts, a few Panthers. The Pershings perform adequately. The 90mm gun is effective. Armor protection is good. But mobility is a problem. The Pershings struggle on muddy roads. The underpowered engine strains. Several Pershings experience transmission problems. They're repaired in the field. But the pattern is concerning. Mechanical reliability is worse than Sherman's. Chapter 5. The Remagen Bridge. March 7, 1945, Remagen, Germany. The 9th Armored Division discovers the Ludendorff Bridge over the Rhine River. It's intact. German forces failed to destroy it. This is a strategic prize. The Rhine is Germany's last natural barrier. If American forces capture the bridge, they can pour troops into Germany's heartland. The war will end within weeks. 4 M26 Pershings from the 9th Armored Division participate in the bridge capture. They provide fire support for infantry, suppress German defensive positions. The Pershing's 90mm guns destroy bunkers, machine gun nests. German resistance is fierce but disorganized. By afternoon, American forces control the bridge. But the Germans counterattack. Hitler is furious. He orders the bridge destroyed. German forces mass artillery, bombing raids, and several King Tigers are rushed to Remagen. Their mission? Destroy the bridge, or prevent American forces from expanding the bridgehead. The Pershings defend the eastern approach. March 8th, German King Tigers attack. 4 King Tigers engage American forces. The Pershings return fire. Range, 1,000 meters. Too far for effective penetration. The Pershing's 90mm gun can penetrate King Tiger's side armor at this range, but not frontal armor. The King Tigers have 180 millimeters of frontal armor, sloped. Effectively, over 250 millimeters. The Pershings hit King Tigers multiple times. Most shells bounce off. A few penetrate the turret. 1 King Tiger is damaged, retreats. But the King Tigers return fire. Their 88mm long guns can penetrate Pershing frontal armor at 1,000 meters. 1 Pershing is hit. The shell penetrates the lower frontal plate. Engine damage. The crew evacuates. The Pershing is recovered later,
but it's out of action for days. The battle demonstrates the Pershing's limitations. It can fight King Tigers, but not dominate them. At long range, the Pershing's gun struggles against King Tiger frontal armor. The Pershing must get closer, or flank, but the King Tiger can penetrate the Pershing frontally at long range. It's not an even match. The King Tiger is still superior, but the King Tigers can't destroy the bridge. American artillery and air power are overwhelming. German forces are outnumbered. By March 10th, the bridgehead is secure. American forces pour across. The Rhine barrier is broken. Germany's defeat is inevitable. The Pershings participated, but they didn't change the outcome. The bridge was captured by infantry and Shermans. The Pershings provided fire support, but they weren't decisive. Once again, the Pershing arrives too late to matter. Chapter 6: The Cathedral Duel. March 6, 1945, Cologne, Germany. The day before Remagen. Sergeant Early Roland's Eagle 7 advances through the city center. American forces are clearing German resistance, street by street, building by building. The fighting is brutal. Close range, urban warfare. Roland's platoon includes 3 Pershings. They're providing fire support for infantry. The cathedral is a landmark, a navigation point. Roland's tank passes near it. Then he sees the Panther, 500 meters ahead. Hull down, only the turret visible. The Panther fires. The shell hits Eagle 7 on the frontal armor, 102 millimeters thick. The Panther's 75 millimeter gun fires a high-velocity, armor-piercing round. At 500 meters, it can penetrate 90 to 100 millimeters. The Pershing's armor is barely thick enough. The shell hits at an angle, doesn't fully penetrate, but the impact is massive. Roland and his crew are stunned. Corporal Clarence Smoyer recovers first. He's the gunner. He centers the crosshairs on the Panther's turret. The range is closed to 480 meters.
The Pershing's 90 millimeter gun aims. Smoyer fires. The shell crosses the distance in under a second, hits the Panther's turret front, penetrates. The Panther's ammunition explodes. The turret lifts off. Smoke, fire, total destruction. The entire engagement lasts 12 seconds, and it's filmed. The Signal Corps cameraman captures everything. This footage becomes famous. It's shown in newsreels, training films, documentaries. It becomes the iconic image of the Pershing. American tank destroys German Panther. The Pershing proves it can fight German heavy tanks. But context matters. This is March 6th. Germany surrenders May 8th. 2 months later, the Pershing fought one Panther and won. But the war is already decided. The Sherman won the war. The Pershing arrived after victory was certain. This duel is symbolic, not strategic. The right tank, the wrong time. Roland and his crew continue fighting. They participate in clearing Cologne, then advance deeper into Germany. By April, German resistance is collapsing. Eagle 7 encounters scattered German forces, a few anti-tank guns, some Panzerfausts, but no more Panthers or Tigers. German heavy armor is gone, destroyed, abandoned, or out of fuel. The Pershing has nothing left to fight. May 8, 1945, Germany surrenders. The war in Europe ends. The Pershings participated for 3 months. 20 tanks out of thousands of American tanks in Europe. They fought a handful of engagements, destroyed a few German tanks. But strategically, they were irrelevant. The Sherman won the war. The Pershing arrived too late. Chapter 7. Okinawa, cancelled. While Europe celebrates victory, the war continues in the Pacific. Japan fights on. American forces prepare for the invasion of Japan, Operation Downfall. Planners estimate casualties will be catastrophic. Millions of Japanese soldiers, fanatical resistance. American forces need every advantage. 12 M26 Pershings are selected for deployment to the Pacific. They're assigned to the 73rd Tank Battalion. The mission? Support the invasion of Japan. Provide heavy firepower against Japanese fortifications. The Pershings are loaded onto ships. Destination? Okinawa, the staging area for the invasion. May 31, 1945. The Pershings depart from the United States. The journey across the Pacific takes approximately 2 months. The Pershings arrive at Okinawa on August 4, 1945. But the Battle of Okinawa ended on June 22, over a month before the Pershings arrived. The tanks sit on the docks, waiting for orders. The invasion of Japan is planned for November. The Pershings will participate if the invasion happens. August 6, 1945. The United States drops an atomic bomb on Hiroshima. August 9, another atomic bomb on Nagasaki. Japan's leadership realizes the war is lost. August 15. Emperor Hirohito announces Japan's surrender. September 2nd. Japan formally surrenders. World War II ends. The 12 Pershings never see combat in the Pacific. They arrived at Okinawa on August 4th. Japan surrendered August 15th, 11 days later. Once again, the Pershing arrives too late. Too late for Okinawa. Too late for the invasion of Japan. Too late for World War II. This pattern defines the Pershing. The right weapon, the wrong time. Designed in 1942, deployed in 1945, 3 years late. And in those 3 years, the Sherman fought and won the war. The Pershing arrived after victory, symbolically important, strategically irrelevant. Part 3. Korea, Redemption and Rejection. Chapter 8. North Korea invades. June 25, 1950. North Korean forces invade South Korea. Over 150,000 soldiers, supported by 240 T-34-85 tanks, Soviet-supplied. The North Korean People's Army is well-equipped, well-trained. They advance rapidly. South Korean forces are overwhelmed. Within days, Seoul falls. South Korean forces retreat south. The United States intervenes. President Truman commits American forces. Under United Nations authority, American forces in Japan are ordered to Korea. The 8th Army, multiple divisions, but they're occupation forces, not combat-ready. Equipment is limited. Training is inadequate. They deploy anyway. South Korea is collapsing. American forces must stop the North Korean advance. American forces have limited armor, some M24 Chaffee light tanks, a few M4 Sherman mediums, but no heavy tanks. No weapons capable of fighting T-34-85s effectively. The Chaffee's 75mm gun cannot penetrate T-34 frontal armor. The Sherman 76mm gun can, but barely, and at close range only. American forces need better tanks. July 1950. The 8th Army requests M26 Pershings. The Pershings are in storage in Japan. They've been there since World War II ended. 5 years. No combat, no maintenance. The tanks are in poor condition, but they're available, and they're better than Chaffees or Shermans. The request is approved. 3 M26 Pershings are rushed to Korea. They're loaded onto ships, transported to Busan, the only port still in American hands. The Pershings arrive in late July. They're assigned to a provisional platoon, commanded by Lieutenant Samuel Fowler. The mission? Defend Busan. Prevent North Korean forces from capturing the port. If Busan falls, American forces will be pushed into the sea. But the 3 Pershings have problems. They've been in storage for 5 years. No maintenance. Seals are degraded. Fluids leaked. The engines are in poor condition. The transmissions are questionable. The tanks need overhaul, but there's no time. North Korean forces are advancing. The Pershings must deploy immediately. July 31st, 1950. Fowler's platoon deploys to Chinju, a strategic town west of Busan. North Korean forces are approaching. T-34-85s lead the advance. The 3 Pershings take defensive positions. This will be the first engagement between American and Soviet-designed tanks. The Pershing finally faces an equal opponent, or so everyone hopes. The North Korean T-34s advance. Fowler orders his platoon to engage. Range, 1,000 meters. The Pershings fire. But problems occur immediately. One Pershing's engine overheats. The cooling system failed. The tank is immobilized. Another Pershing's transmission fails. Gears stripped. The tank can't move. The 3rd Pershing fires several rounds. Then its gun recoil system fails. The gun won't fire reliably. All 3 Pershings are non-operational. Within an hour of combat. Not from enemy action, from mechanical failure. 5 years of neglect, rushed deployment, inadequate maintenance. The Pershings break down before they can fight. Fowler orders evacuation. The crews destroy the tanks. Demolition charges to prevent capture. The 3 Pershings never killed a single T-34. They failed before engaging. This is the Pershing's Korean War debut. A disaster. A humiliation. The tank that was supposed to save Busan couldn't even operate. Chapter 9. Redemption. The First Kills. August 1950. More M26 Pershings arrive in Korea. This time, they're properly maintained, prepared for combat. The 8th Army learns from the July disaster. Tanks can't be rushed into combat after years of storage. They need maintenance, testing, preparation. August 17, 1950. Marine Tank Company, 1st Marine Tank Battalion. 3 Pershings and several Shermans. They're defending positions near Obong-ri. North Korean forces attack, including T-34-85s. This is the moment. The Pershing's chance to prove itself. Marine Lieutenant Granville Sweet commands the lead Pershing. He sees the T-34s advancing. Range, 1,200 meters. Sweet orders his gunner to engage. The 90mm gun fires. The shell crosses the distance, hits the lead T-34 on the frontal armor, penetrates. The T-34 explodes. First kill. Second T-34. Sweet's gunner adjusts aim. Fires. Hit. Penetrates. The T-34 burns. 2 kills. Third T-34 attempts to retreat. Another Pershing engages. Fires. Hit. The T-34 is immobilized. The crew evacuates. 3 T-34s destroyed in minutes. This is what the Pershing was designed for: fighting enemy heavy tanks. The 90mm gun penetrates T-34 armor easily. At ranges where the T-34 cannot effectively return fire, the Pershing dominates. The Marines are ecstatic. Finally, a tank that can kill T-34s reliably. Over the next weeks, more Pershings arrive. By September, approximately 100 Pershings are in Korea. They're distributed across multiple units: 8th Army, Marines. They engage North Korean armor regularly. The results are consistent. Pershings dominate T-34s. Superior gun, superior armor. The Pershing's 90mm gun can penetrate T-34 frontal armor at 1,500 meters. The T-34's 85mm gun can penetrate Pershing frontal armor at 500 meters, but only from optimal angles. September 1950. The Incheon landing. United Nations forces land behind North Korean lines. The North Korean advance collapses. American forces break out of Pusan, begin advancing north. Pershings participate. They encounter retreating North Korean forces, destroy tanks, vehicles, artillery. The Pershings are effective. Finally, the tank proves its worth. The Battle of the Bowling Alley, August to September 1950. 73rd Tank Battalion, multiple Pershings.
North Korean forces attempt night attacks. T-34s advance down a narrow valley. American forces call it the Bowling Alley. The T-34s advance in column. The Pershings engage from defensive positions. Long range, overlapping fields of fire. 13 T-34s destroyed. 5 Su-76 self-propelled guns destroyed. 0 American tank losses. The Pershing's superiority is clear. By October 1950, North Korean armor is decimated. Approximately 90 T-34s destroyed. The Pershing is credited with 29 kills. Other kills go to Shermans, tank destroyers, and air power. But the Pershing proved decisive.
It gave American forces a weapon that could fight T-34s on favorable terms. The tank finally fulfilled its purpose, fighting enemy heavy tanks, winning. But the story doesn't end here. The Korean War continues, and the Pershing's problems return for different reasons. Chapter 10. The Mobility Problem. November 1950. Chinese forces intervene in the Korean War. Over 300,000 soldiers. They attack United Nations forces, drive them south. The war's character changes. Mobile warfare, rapid advances, retreats. The terrain is mountainous, roads are poor. Winter is approaching. The M26 Pershing struggles in these conditions. The underpowered engine, 11 horsepower per ton. On flat terrain, adequate. On mountains, inadequate. The Pershing's engine strains, overheats. The cooling system can't handle prolonged high RPM operation. Pershings frequently break down. Not from combat damage, from overheating. Transmission failures, engine failures. American tank crews compare the Pershing to the Sherman. The Sherman M4A3E8, Easy 8. 15 horsepower per ton. More reliable engine, better cooling. The Sherman climbs mountains faster, travels longer without breakdowns. The Sherman's 76mm gun is adequate against T-34s at close range. Not as good as the Pershing's 90mm, but adequate. Crews start preferring Shermans over Pershings. The Sherman is more reliable, better mobility, easier to maintain. The Pershing's 90mm gun is superior, but mobility matters more in Korean mountains. A Sherman that reaches the battlefield is more valuable than a Pershing that breaks down halfway there. By December 1950, American commanders recognized the problem. The Pershing is not well suited for Korean terrain. The engine is inadequate. Many Pershings are temporarily withdrawn, sent to Japan for overhaul. The engine and transmission need upgrades, but these upgrades take time, months. Meanwhile, Shermans continue fighting. Some Pershings remain in Korea, units that can maintain them, terrain that favors them. But the Pershing is no longer the primary American tank in Korea. The Sherman retakes that role. The same Sherman that the Pershing was supposed to replace. The Sherman proves more valuable in Korea's conditions. Better mobility, better reliability, adequate firepower. This is the Pershing's second failure. First, it arrived too late for World War II. Second, it's inadequate for Korea's terrain. The tank designed to fight in Europe, flat terrain, good roads. It struggles in Korea. Mountains, poor roads, extreme weather. The Pershing is the wrong tank. Again. 1951. The M26 is withdrawn from frontline service, replaced by the M46 Patton. The Patton is an upgraded Pershing, new engine, Continental AV1793, 810 horsepower, improved transmission, better cooling. The mobility problems are solved. The M46 performs well in Korea, but it's not the M26. The Pershing service in Korea ends, not with glory, with quiet withdrawal, replaced by a better version of itself. The Pershing fought in Korea for approximately 1 year. July 1950 to July 1951. It achieved notable successes: 29 confirmed kills against T-34s, proof that the 90mm gun and armor design were sound. But mechanical reliability and mobility were inadequate. The tank that arrived too late for World War II was also wrong for Korea. Different war, different problems, same result. The Pershing didn't meet expectations. Part 4. The Verdict. Timing is everything. Chapter 11. Pershing versus other tanks. Let's compare the M26 Pershing to other heavy tanks of World War II and Korea, because this comparison reveals important truths about the Pershing's place in history. Gun power. Pershing, 90mm M3, penetration at 1,000 meters, 120mm. Panther, 75mm KWK-42, penetration at 1,000 meters, 138mm. Tiger 1, 88mm KWK-36, penetration at 1,000 meters, 120mm. King Tiger, 88mm KWK-43, penetration at 1,000 meters, 153mm. IS-2, 122mm D-25T, penetration at 1,000 meters, 160mm. T-34-85, 85mm ZIS-S-53, penetration at 1,000 meters, 100mm. The Pershing's gun is comparable to the Tiger 1, better than the T-34-85, worse than the Panther, King Tiger, and IS-2, mid-tier, not exceptional, but adequate. Armor protection. Pershing, frontal hull 102mm at 46 degrees, effective thickness approximately 145mm. Panther, frontal hull 80mm at 55 degrees, effective thickness approximately 140mm. Tiger 1, frontal hull 100mm vertical. King Tiger, frontal hull 180mm at 50 degrees, effective thickness over 250mm. IS-2, frontal hull 120mm at 60 degrees, effective thickness over 200mm. T-34-85, frontal hull 45mm at 60 degrees, effective thickness approximately 90mm. The Pershing's armor is comparable to the Panther, better than the T-34-85, worse than the Tiger 1, King Tiger, and IS-2, again, mid-tier. Mobility. Pershing, power-to-weight ratio, 11 horsepower per ton. Maximum speed, 40 kilometers per hour. Panther, 16 horsepower per ton. Maximum speed, 46 kilometers per hour. Tiger 1, 13 horsepower per ton. Maximum speed, 38 kilometers per hour. King Tiger, 10 horsepower per ton. Maximum speed, 41 kilometers per hour. IS-2, 11 horsepower per ton. Maximum speed, 37 kilometers per hour. T-34-85, 19 horsepower per ton. Maximum speed, 55 kilometers per hour. Sherman M4A3E8, 15 horsepower per ton. Maximum speed, 48 kilometers per hour. The Pershing is slower than the Panther, Sherman, and T-34-85, comparable to the King Tiger and IS-2, both of which are criticized for being underpowered. The Pershing has a mobility problem. Operational reliability. This is harder to quantify, but reports are consistent. The Pershing's reliability is worse than the Sherman, better than the King Tiger and Panther. The engine overheats under stress. The transmission fails frequently. Maintenance is complex. Spare parts availability is limited during its brief service. The Pershing is not a reliable tank. Combat effectiveness. In World War II, minimal. 20 tanks, 3 months of service. A handful of engagements. Symbolically important. Strategically irrelevant. In Korea, notable. 29 confirmed kills against T-34s. Proof the design works. But mobility problems limit effectiveness. Withdrawn after 1 year. Replaced by the M26 Pershing. Overall, the Pershing's combat record is mediocre. Final comparison verdict. The Pershing is a mid-tier heavy tank. Not the best, not the worst. Better than the Sherman and T-34-85. Worse than the Panther, King Tiger, and IS-2. Its 90mm gun is adequate. Armor is adequate. Mobility is poor. Reliability is poor. If the Pershing had arrived in 1943, it would have been valuable. American forces would have a weapon capable of fighting German heavy tanks. But it arrived in 1945, 3 years late. By then, the Sherman had already won the war. The Pershing's technical adequacy doesn't compensate for its late arrival. Chapter 12. The Legacy and Final Verdict. So what's the final verdict on the M26 Pershing? Was it a good tank? A failure? A missed opportunity? The answer depends on perspective. As a weapon system, the Pershing was adequate. The 90mm gun could penetrate German and Soviet heavy tanks. The armor could withstand most enemy guns at medium range. The design was sound, but the execution was flawed. Underpowered engine, overloaded transmission. These problems limited effectiveness. As a strategic asset, the Pershing was irrelevant in World War II. 20 tanks, 3 months of service. Germany was collapsing. The Sherman already won the war. The Pershing arrived after victory was certain. It didn't change the outcome. Didn't save lives. Didn't shorten the war. It was too late. As a political symbol, the Pershing was important. It proved America could build heavy tanks, could match German engineering. This was important for national prestige, for post-war military development. The Pershing led to the M46 Pershing, the M47, the M48, the M60, a lineage of American heavy tanks. The Pershing was the first, not the best, but the first. In Korea, the Pershing had its moment. It proved the design worked, defeated T-34-85s. But mechanical problems and mobility limitations prevented it from being the solution American forces needed. The Sherman remained more valuable. The Pershing was withdrawn, replaced, again inadequate, for different reasons. The Pershing story is a lesson in timing. Good weapons deployed late are worse than adequate weapons deployed on time. The Sherman was adequate, but it arrived in 1942, fought for 3 years, won the war. The Pershing was better than the Sherman, but it arrived in 1945, fought for 3 months, changed nothing. American military historian Stephen Zaloga writes, "The Pershing was a competent tank that arrived too late to matter. Its design was adequate for 1943. By 1945, it was merely average. And average tanks don't win wars. Timely, adequate tanks win wars." German General Heinz Guderian said after the war, "The American Pershing was a capable tank. If it had arrived in 1943, it would have troubled us greatly. But it arrived in 1945. By then, Germany was defeated. The Pershing proved Americans could build good tanks, but they proved it when it no longer mattered." Soviet tank commander Dmitry Loza, who fought against Germans in IS-2s and against Americans in Korea, wrote, "The Pershing was America's answer to the Tiger and IS-2. But the answer came too late. In Korea, the Pershing was adequate against our T-34s. But your Sherman was more reliable, more mobile. In war, reliability often matters more than firepower." The M26 Pershing, designed in 1942, deployed in 1945, 3 years too late. The tank that could have changed World War II if it had arrived in time. The weapon that proved timing is everything. The machine that demonstrates sometimes being right isn't enough. You must also be on time. Not a failure, but not a success. A lesson. The right weapon at the wrong time is the wrong weapon. This is the Pershing's legacy. This is its verdict. Thank you for watching Iron Witness. Subscribe for more untold stories of the machines that shaped history.